Good evening. Welcome to the 24th episode of Add Water and Stir. I am adoptive Black mom of the blog with the same name, and I am joined by co-host Mimi from Complicated Melody. What's up, girl?
Hey, how y'all doing? Welcome to the 24th episode.
Yay, woo woo. So, for those of you joining us for the first time, this podcast, Add Water and Stir, focuses on promoting foster care and adoption within communities of color, especially within the African American community. We want to give voice and visibility to families like ours who often seem to be left out of the mainstream adoption conversations. So, through this podcast, we hope to educate others as we talk about our struggles, our triumphs in parenting our adoptive kids. So, tonight we'll be talking about two topics. We are going to talk about what we wished we knew about adoption kind of before starting the process and kind of early on in the process. And in the second part of the podcast tonight, we're going to talk about Rihanna's new video. Bees better have my money.
Bees better have my money. Okay.
Because I've been told that, we don't want the explicit rating, so I'm just going to say bee better have my money. But before we get into our topics, we usually start off by catching up in the 2 weeks since our last show. So, Mimi, what's been going on?
We have been traveling over here. So, within the last couple of weeks, we had the July 4th holiday. And we went to Chicago to visit my husband's family. And, I love having Nana with me. That is my road dog. She is an excellent traveler. And as she gets older, she continues to prove to be a great companion. She's the one who wants to look out the window while my husband's gripping the side of the seat, like, so that's my girl. But I love letting her go and see her cousins. It just reminds me that perhaps a sibling would be good, because she just gets so much joy from being able to play with these people all the time. And honestly, it's self-serving too, because they go and play and then the adults can sit down and have a conversation too. So it's really good to be able to see our family there. So that's what we've mainly been doing, hanging out with the family. What about you?
Well, we tomorrow are embarking on a 10-day trip up north. We're headed to New England. I have a business trip for 3 days, and then we are headed off to a cool climb with boozy Black folk on Martha's Vineyard. And where I plan on having a cocktail, pretending to read a book while snoozing. And I have been working on managing Hope's expectations, because normally the trips that we take involve us gallivanting around the city and seeing stuff and doing stuff, and me trying not to get sick on amusement park rides and all of that kind of carrying on. But this time I have really been trying to get her to realize that there will be none of that.
This is a relaxing vacation.
Yes, this is a relaxing vacation, and I really don't care if she doesn't see more than a 5-mile radius of the house.
Now, is she going to have a bike like the guy on the Inkwell?
Yes, I will get her a bike.
Oh, okay.
But, the likelihood that she will go far without me is very slim.
Okay. All right.
And I will be honest and say that biking seems strenuous to me. Like, I am ready for that kind of vacation. Like,
so biking is out of the.
It just seems like a lot.
Okay.
Hope. I just don't want to.
I hope you have a lot of books for Hope.
So we have audiobooks, and we've got we'll be like downloading some ebooks. She's getting her tablet back, and so all of that. Otherwise, we have been kind of hanging out close to home. We did spend some time, like you guys, with family over the holiday. I tell people, I joke because I tell people that Hope and Yappy are my kids. We went to go see my parents, and I just blogged about Yappy this week and how he is a holy terror and ill-behaved. And the good thing is that he makes whatever challenges I have with Hope seem much easier because he's so spoiled and so bad. So, but he is my sweet baby. But he's not going with us on this trip, so I will miss him. But yeah, I will miss him.
Poor Yappy has to stay home.
Yeah, Yappy has to stay home, and but I'm sure we'll be all great when we come back in a couple weeks. So that is kind of what's been going on with us.
So I want to say hello to our audience. We have a viewer out there. I think it's my mom. Hey, mom, if that's you.
Hey, Mimi's mom.
But if you would like to, if you're watching live, you can drop a question in the box if you have questions for us as we're going along, and we'll incorporate those into the conversation.
Yes. So tonight's first topic is what we wish we knew about adoption beforehand. And I mentioned this topic to Mimi this week. I participate in a number of, in a support group with my agency once a month, and we kind of everybody trades war stories and kind of things and that they've learned during the course of the process. And the support group that I'm in has people at all stages. So those of us who are, we've been through the process from beginning to end, at least the legal part, those who have not put in any paperwork yet but are just exploring, those who have done their pride training or whatever it's called in your district or community. People who are waiting, people who have been placed and are waiting for finalization, the whole kind of continuum. And, we talk about things that we've learned. And I thought that it might be beneficial for us to talk a bit about maybe things that we wish we had known earlier in the process. So, Mimi, what did you wish you knew many, many months ago? Hello? I lost you.
Okay. Sorry. I had muted.
Oh, okay.
So I wish that I had known, when you go through the pride training, you have the social workers always talking about different situations, and they try to be balanced to give you, this could be the most devastating situation, Well, most children are not like that, but I just want you to know. But I wish I had known that it could be me, right? That I guess I would say I had a tendency to listen to the social worker and think, or the pride teacher or whatever, and think, yeah, that's cool, but we're not going to get one of those children, right? So my child's not going to have those issues because I'm getting a little baby. We're only going to go 0 to 2, and then we're going to weed through it, through the children. We're going to read their medical history. So I understand what you're saying, but that is not going to be us. I'm not saying that Nana has a lot of problems, but I think, I just felt like nothing she was really saying was going to apply to our situation,
Yeah, we're the magical adoptive family.
Pretty naive. Like, yeah, there's all these other people in here, so.
Yeah. I think one of the first things that I wish I knew or had a better appreciation for was once your kid actually feels kind of safe, then the emergence of some of the things that nobody told you about in terms of challenges. So no one really talked about some of the social challenges that Hope struggles with, and I think I've written about this a little bit. And they've really only truly manifested probably in the last 6 months. So I don't know if they just never presented back then or not. But there wasn't anything in the record about it. And so, these are struggles. And I guess, I'd heard something about that, but I didn't really appreciate the impact that it would have on me as a single parent or as a parent in general. The kind of like, oh, wait a minute, this is new, and like, why is this happening?
Hmm.
Right? You know,
Right.
we're past all that. Why is this happening?
Right. She should be comfortable with
Right.
people now. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wish I knew that there will always probably be a question in my mind about whether this is normal or not. Like, is this behavior developmentally appropriate or normal for her age, or is this something that is related to loss, trauma, adoption, her previous history, her,
Mm-hmm.
medical history? There's always going to be a question about what is this. And I feel like with a biological child, at least you just kind of come into the plate with some assumptions like, well, that's just how they are.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always going to be I feel like there's always a question about, is that right? Should I ask someone about this, or is this
Yeah.
just normal?
Or, hey, great Aunt Sue used to do something like that. Like you could tie it to
Right.
some type of biology, hereditary kind of situation. And it may be that there's an Aunt Sue somewhere, but we just don't know that there's even an Aunt Sue. you know?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that I wish I knew was back then was towards the end, negotiating the adoption subsidy better. And I don't know if you had it, if you guys dealt with this, but we did get some subsidy in the form of she has medical coverage until she's 18, which I use as a secondary coverage rather than a primary. But it is, I realize as I'm talking to other parents that I probably could have done a better job of asking for some type of subsidy to cover specialized treatments for therapies or something like that that may not be covered at all by health insurance and that we're paying out of pocket. And so, but I didn't know that then. And so, it's not like we can go back to it now, but, there's a huge, I don't know if you guys have CASE where you live, but it's the Center for Adoption Support and Education. So it's a big thing here, and they have an office, a couple of offices in our area, and they provide very specialized services for adoptive kids, but it's not at all covered by insurance.
We It's interesting you talk about subsidy. I think we talked about this a little bit before, but I was pretty much told there's not really negotiation related to subsidy, and because Nana didn't have anything at the time
Mm-hmm.
to indicate that this would be a challenge. And nothing now that right now we need to pay for out of pocket or some special need. That doesn't mean one won't come up in the future, but
Right.
we didn't have anything to negotiate with. Um, but it was very clear to me that this is what you get. That's not really negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to sign this paper. And
Yeah. And I mean, and that may be variable state to state. It seems that Washington, the state of Washington, which is where Hope is from, seem to be amenable to some negotiation. There are a couple of families that I know right now, and they're in the process, and they're in that subsidy negotiation process. And it's just been kind of interesting to hear about it, a year later, kind of like, oh, wow, I didn't realize I could have asked for some other things, other types of support, even short term. So, so I would say, if you're at that stage or you anticipate getting to that stage, it might certainly be something to ask about that I certainly wish I knew about then.
Not only ask about, because I feel like depending on who you ask, you may get maybe turned in a certain way. So I would research it too, because I know, like I said, we didn't have anything to negotiate about, but I had read up on subsidy negotiations, and there are some people out on different forums that talk about it. So read up about it, get more information, understand what the policy is in your state too.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like a positive one.
Yeah.
Uh, what I wish I'd known before is that my family would be so accepting of Nana. I mean, across the board, not an issue at all, as far as I know. Not an issue. They treat her just like she's their grandchild. She is their grandchild, but there's
Mm-hmm.
not any issues with that. Nana is theirs. And I think I spent some time playing scenarios in my head about how I was going to deal with this. Now, if you say this, I'm going to pop off, and just different things, or I'm going to handle it this way. I spent time thinking about that when that wasn't even something that I had to worry about. So I think that depends on the family, right?
Yeah.
But at least within our family, we didn't have that challenge.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I think that that's a great point because I know that a fellow blogger, My Perfect Breakdown, I don't know if you follow her. She's really great about blogging about her experience. She's a Canadian blogger who is coming to international adoption through kind of after several pregnancy losses, and her family has reacted all across the board. And one of the things that I wish that I had been prepared for is that even though everybody has been so supportive. I mean, people have been supportive, but I wasn't. I never anticipated that some of the adoption language would not be framed so positively. So, like some of the questions that I get, I wasn't prepared for people to just be so nosy. I wasn't about, Hope's background and like, okay, yeah, okay, well, I know she's adopted or whatever, but like, I mean, but like, what's the real story? And I'm like, none of your business. Like, I wasn't ready for that. Or I also wasn't ready for um, the while people are supportive, people do really believe that it's an add water and stir kind of situation, and they don't appreciate the labyrinth of emotions. I think that Scary Mommy, and one of the links that we'll post in the show notes, she has in her 20 things she wished she had known, she talks about this kind of labyrinth of emotions that are attached to adoption, and that people kind of outside of the community don't really have a good appreciation for how emotional the process can really be. And the process then extends to raising this child, right? So well beyond finalization.
So that's a good point, because on the flip side of that, or just to add to that, one of the things that I wish I had known is that people will not know how to celebrate with you, or they will not know how to support you. You have
Yeah.
to be, and I'm sure this is just across the board. You have to be very specific in telling people what you need and what you want. That goes for everything from the baby shower, to
Right.
any type of celebration that you like to do, because people don't know. So they're usually afraid to ask, or don't want to accept you, don't know when the right time is to do certain things. When you are when someone's pregnant, I kind of know when the right time is to have a baby shower, right?
Right.
Because the baby's coming, right, at a certain time frame.
Right.
But when you're going through a process, I don't know what you need, and at what time do you need, and how close are you to the process, and it's a very iffy time. And
Right.
then when the child comes, how are you going to react? At least for us, when we first brought Nana home, we really kept a barrier around her and kept her amongst ourselves so she could bond with us first. So is that okay? And what that means to other people who are interested in interacting with you. So, ba- I wish I had known maybe how to communicate that better, and not to be so hurt that people couldn't read my mind and
Mm,
just, you
yeah.
know, take matters into their own hands without me having to be very explicit about this is what I like and this is what I want, and this is what I need.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really vulnerable time because you've had a whole host of people all in your business, and you just I yeah, and some of these lists that I looked at this afternoon in prepping for this discussion, a lot of people were like, make sure that somebody is there to meet you at the airport or when the child comes home. And I chose very deliberately to be the only one there. And that wasn't very well received by people in my family because they felt left out and they felt like I was trying to hide her rather than be protective of her. And so, people kind of misinterpreted it, and I wasn't very good about communicating why I was making that choice. So, yeah, it's kind of tough. One of the things that I have learned in the last 6 months, 7 months or so, is during that kind of period when have been matched and or exploring, this is kind of odd, but certainly for older child adoption, ask if there are, especially when abuse is kind of a part of the narrative, ask if there are any criminal proceedings that are open. I never would have thought to ask. I mean, a lot of our kids come from lost situations and they kind of come from hard places. And so you, in the disclosure forms, may find all kinds of information about, you know, crimes that they are victims of, right? And so you're like, oh, okay. But we focus so much on the trying to help them move through it emotionally and physically. And that's great because we need to do that. But we had a situation where I had no idea that there was an open criminal proceeding involving my daughter as a victim. And so when the prosecutor called and told us that a subpoena was forthcoming, it was devastating and shocking. And I wish that somebody had just given me a heads up. And even the prosecutor was shocked that the social worker just never told me that there was an open, criminal case pending. And so for the last 7 months, we've been dealing with this situation. But I'm happy to say that sentencing is this week, and we will be having a party.
All right.
Yes.
You know, that's another thing about the process. Your child's paperwork changes hands so many times. Like the social worker that helped us finalize our adoption, it we had a social worker immediately before her and a social worker immediately before her. They handed off two times before it got to that lady. So you may be dealing with someone that does not know anything about your child, right? They have not read all the paperwork. I mean, because some of those files are really thick. So you have to be diligent. When you get that
Mm-hmm.
paperwork, that packet, the what do we call that
The
when they disclosure
disclosure, yeah.
paperwork? You
Mm-hmm.
need to read all that stuff. I know some people just kind of skim it, but we
Mm-hmm.
read every piece of documentation there, and be able to ask questions, just like you're saying. Ask questions about the things that you find in there because your social worker may not even be aware of
Yeah,
what's in the paperwork.
yeah.
Now, another thing I wish I had known is that, so this piggybacks on this, is that I could ask for things. So I feel like when you're going through the process, you're on pins and needle. You're like, pick me, pick me. I want to present as this perfect family. I've made my booklets and we look great on the cover. And, when we go to all the support groups and we're volunteering at the little meetings so you can get to know me personally, So you're doing all these other things, you're really like being hazed and going through a sorority. But um, what was I going to say? Oh, so then the point is that you're so busy trying to be nice that you may not put your best interest ahead of their impression of you, right? So I wish I had known that I could ask more questions, I could ask for things, I could change times and schedules to meet
Mhm.
with my schedule, and not have to go through so many changes. I mean, I actually had a really good social worker that was able to manage things with my schedule, but I wish I could have asked for more things. The thing that helped me was that I had I guess I'll call her a mentor, who was a foster mother for years. And,
Mm.
when I would talk to her about different situations, she said, well, you can just call the social worker and ask her if you can do such and such. And I'm like, really? you know so
Really?
I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know, because you just think that the social worker has so much power, and they do. They do have a lot of the power in their relationship, but it is okay for you to ask for things to support you and to help make things easier for you too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I wish I knew was how difficult it would be to say no to a potential match. And, Hope was the first profile that was ever sent to me. And clearly that worked out, right? But there was another profile sent to me like the following day while we were waiting for her recruiter to get back to us. And that it's certainly in my archives, but I knew, pretty quickly that that was not a match, and that, you know, it was just so hard, and no one ever told me how hard it was gonna be, even though I knew it was the right decision you're in this whole process to get a kid, so then to say no, was just heartbreaking in a way that I was so not. I just never would have thought that that experience would have happened. And I was just like, well, why would I ever say no to a kid? If they think I'm a match, I'm a match. Let's do this. And but it was clearly not a match, and it was a situation that was just I would have been in way over my head in terms of the child's issues, and um, it just was hard, and I wasn't prepared emotionally for the depth of pain.
I agree with that. We had to say no to a couple of calls. I wouldn't necessarily call them matches, right? Because we were part of the foster care system, right? So we could get called for any situation that came up that kind of met some of our general high level requirements. But we received two calls, and both of them had very serious medical challenges. And I still called Wood, right? I probably could have made that decision on my own, but like you're saying, you just don't want to say no because, honestly, from a spiritual perspective, you're thinking, well, maybe God is trying to tell me something, right? For them to call me, because God, you know what I need, you know what
Right.
I want. So for them to call me, then maybe He's trying to tell me that that's what I'm supposed to do. And obviously that wasn't the case. Maybe that was just us needing to get prepared for Nana, but it was so hard to tell them no, even though I knew that the situation wasn't right for us.
Yeah.
Um, oh, that was very difficult. Um, and
Yeah.
then on the side of that too, and I think as people prepare, it is okay to say no if the situation doesn't match with what your family can handle, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's worse for you to have a child in your home and your family can't handle and you guys are over your head versus just saying no and letting them do the work to find a family that's a better match for what the child needs.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yes. So, do you have other things?
the only, there are two things I have, but one of them is that I actually I didn't expect to mourn for my child's first family. Um, Especially because we came through the foster care system and most of the forums that I was on really had challenges with their children's first family. Um, our situation is a little bit different, but I think I mourn for Nana that she
Mm,
won't have her sisters, and I know what it feels like to maybe be grown and try to establish a relationship with someone. It is very challenging because you don't have those shared experiences. So I'm nervous for what may happen to her in the future. I mourn for her family because everybody wasn't involved in the situation. So there's grandparents involved, there's siblings involved who, through no fault of their particular own, have lost a child,
yeah.
lost one
Yeah.
of their relatives. And so, as of right now, at least I believe they have no idea
Yeah.
what's happening to Nana. So, I, that, that hits my heart quite a bit because I just feel like that's hard to have a relative out in the world and not know what's going on with them. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, I would say I wish that I had known. I grieve too. Our situation has evolved because we're trying to figure out ways of integrating the extended first family into our family. And I have a friend and colleague who reached out to me, and she and her husband are thinking about this particular path in terms of building their family. And she was like, close adoption, and I was like, yeah. And in the age of the internet, there's almost no such thing anymore. Like her, if
right.
if somebody in that family loves her, and
Yes.
I'm sure someone does, they will not stop looking for her, and they will find her. And and it's tough not to be prepared to be found.
Right.
So I would say, if you're in this process and you think that it's just going to be a free, clean, closed situation, like this is the internet.
Right.
There's no such thing.
And it's only getting more open, right?
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
children eventually, as they learn, they will go searching.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so I
yeah,
guess you're right. It's just better for, and that might be just a conversation that in general the adoption community needs to have.
yeah,
Needs to just start moving towards more openness and transparency because it's going to happen regardless.
yeah.
So,
So I'm sorry, I'm kind of for the person of like
hey,
our audience,
Yappy.
but this is Yappy, and normally Yappy is in bed by now, but he is up prowling, and being a little busybody and chewing on stuff, and like so he's been trying to get my attention. So I
Yappy
have to
says, I want to be on a podcast too.
say hi. A couple other things that I have before we move on to the second topic. And there was some really good advice on one of another blog, and I think it might have also been Scary Mommy, is try to make like connections with people who are also in the connection in the adoption community. And if you can find like real life people and not just people on the internet, like I
Yes.
mean, like and
Right.
make meaningful. I mean, certainly like Mimi and I met through the blogosphere, but I think our friendship has certainly evolved past. We chat during the course of the week and that kind of stuff. But try to have connections with people, and kind of it's not stay away from online forums, but be wary of them. I
Yes.
would advise lurking because, people get kind of serious and they have very strong opinions about all kinds of things. And, there's a couple of forums. I mean, I lurk on a number of forums, and people. He has totally chewed up his This thing is about to come loose. I'm sorry. Not really sure what we're gonna do if he's gonna go away this week. But people say bad things about birth parents and first families and how they don't deserve their kids and they should be taken away. They post articles. There's a huge savior complex in some places. I'm a part of one that is a completely intentionally non-religious forum, and then they bash the religious people just as bad as the religious people bash the non-religious people. And I just lurk, and I just kind of end up having to click the X box quite a bit because it just isn't fruitful conversation. So sometimes there's some really cool stuff on there, but try to make meaningful relationships with people who can support you and who understand kind of what's going, when times are tough and you're like hiding in the bathroom and behind the shower curtain and you need to call somebody, like it needs to be a real person.
Yes, it needs to be a real person.
So, that would be what I would
You post
say.
something on the forum and somebody might not get back to you until 2 hours later, so that's not going to help you.
Or they might get back to you with like some really wild stuff that you're like, oh, okay, that's not this totally took a left turn somewhere, and then people get banned and it's crazy. So I would definitely say try to make relationships, go to support groups where there are people and that you can kind of, call. People do still do that.
So I want to say one last one though that I wish I had known or that I learned is that and I think I can say this for you too is that this going through this experience, our children are our children, right? That is it. There's no disclaimer. It's not my adopted child or, this other child. That is my baby. That is my child. And I knew that philosophically, but now I know it's physically, emotionally. That is my child. And I love her to death. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, I tell people that I'm not just Hope's mom. I am her ride or die. Like I'm her ride or die chick. Like that's me. Like I will cape for her 24/7 all the time. Like even if and so yeah, I mean I just go hard into the paint for her and she sees that and other people see that. And it's not, there are certainly times when I need to explain to people what our situation is and why I need to make decisions that I do. But it's only for context and to advocate for us. But that's my kid.
Yes.
That's my kid. That's my girl. So those are kind of our what we wish we had known back then. If you have things that you wish you knew or wish you want to know what our opinions are, certainly drop us a line. You can certainly put it in the chat. You can tweet us. You can contact us in all kinds of ways, and we'll talk about that. All of our methods of communication a little bit later. So, topic 2. Riri is back.
Yes.
Yes, you better have my money. So she has a new video out. The song was out. She released the song quite some time ago, and it was already controversial because she's Rihanna and she's like, I don't give a. I dig that about her. Her Instagram is really funny. Her Twitter feed is really funny. I don't know if she's tweeting anymore, but certainly Instagram is hilarious. But so she put out this video, and the video is a 7-minute
mini movie.
I guess.
I mean, in the genre of Michael Jackson thriller type. Right. Situation.
Exactly, and apparently it was produced by Kanye West. If I had to guess, I would have imagined that Quentin Tarantino was like somewhere having a soda in the background.
Yes, definitely was an advisor in somewhere.
But essentially, I guess, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the 7-minute video movie, she kidnaps this blonde white woman and basically has her swinging from the rafters. And there's a bit of abuse, there's nudity, there's violence, there's all kinds of stuff. And she is actually holding her for ransom. She reaches out to this dude who apparently owes her some money, and this is his paramour of some sort. And he's like, I ain't paying you, kill her.
Oh my gosh, that's the crazy part about it.
I don't care. So, in the end, somebody dies, and Rihanna is like blood splattered in a trunk with a pile of money, like smoking a blunt.
And that's the end.
And that's the end. And so, so the video came out earlier this week, and when it hit the airwaves, people went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and feminists were in an uproar. The anti-violence folks were in an uproar. The anti-misogynist crew was in an uproar. White women were in an uproar. Black women were in an uproar with the white feminists. Like, it's a little bit crazy. But I thought we should perhaps chat about it because let's chat about it. And because I thought it was an interesting movie. It apparently is loosely based on her. On a real life situation with her and her accountant who bilked her out of a lot of money, and she sued him and took him to the cleaners. So, your thoughts?
So, I saw when the video came. The first time I heard the song was, I think she was on one of the late night shows, and she like pranked him, like showed up to his house and sang the song. I don't remember who it was, but. She just showed up to his wife, let him in, and she showed up to his house. He was asleep, and she like jumped on his bed and was hitting him with a pillow, just causing mayhem. So that's the first introduction I had to the song, right? So when I saw the video, I actually hadn't tried to focus on the video too much. When things are like out there breaking the internet, I'm just like, okay, I'll get to it. So I watched it in preparation for this discussion. So my first thoughts were like, wow, this is very Rihanna in the sense of, my first thoughts were like, it's quirky, it's funny, right? Yeah, it's funny. It's shocking, it's gratuitous,
Yes.
So I had like a whole range of emotions about it. What it immediately made me think of when I was younger, I was in college, I was dating this guy. A Rastafarian. Not that it means anything, but the word hotep, the whole situation. He's a hotep dude, but he was cool. I was into that at the time, so yeah, exactly. So he took me to the movies to see like a Star Trek or something. And after the movie was over, he was like, so what'd you think? And I was like, okay, it was cool, whatever. And he was like, you don't understand that all media is propaganda. So you need to think about what, what you're seeing here and what you're absorbing. And I feel like the same thing with this video in a sense of, all media has a message, right? And so you need to think about what it is. What's the message that you're taking away from it? And that's what I saw when I saw this video. I said, wow, there's so many messages in here, from the fact that Rihanna is defiling white womanhood, which is held up on a pedestal from the fact that she's wearing white and she's in this crisp, clean house and she has this perfect life, to the fact that, she has this multicultural contingent that's helping her do her grunt work behind her. The fact that she just has no I'm trying not to swear, but she has no care about this lady swinging from the rafters. She actually is talking on the phone. She steps back a little bit,
as she swings by her feet.
So the whole video has so many things, I think, to unpack. And I think that was part of Rihanna's point. But the other thing I took away is this is not that much more, or if any, gratuitous than anything like Quentin. You just mentioned Quentin Tarantino. Okay, have you ever seen a Quentin Tarantino movie?
Right.
There's blood everywhere. They're cutting people up. There's women involved, and so you know, do Rihanna, do you?
Do you, Rihanna?
Yes.
So,
What are your thoughts?
well, yeah, I saw it and I had to watch it a couple times because the first time I kind of was like, there is a little bit of a shock factor, but I
Hmm.
thought it was kind of funny because it was very Tarantino-esque, and in the midst of the gratuitous violence and everything, it's kind of campy,
Hmm.
right? And so it didn't take long for the think pieces to
Right.
start rolling out, right? And so I was listening to Slate's Double X, which I enjoy the podcast, but it regularly pisses me off, right? And
Oh,
so
girl,
it's
all the
just,
time. I wish they would. Why don't they have a black lady on this podcast on a
I
regular
don't,
basis? But, and
I
then,
don't know.
you know what? Okay, we're
But,
not going to talk about their
we're not going
podcast.
to talk about that because the last time they had a guest on there, a
Yes,
sister on
we're not going
there,
to
and she
talk
talked
about
about Dumbo. So, Dumbo's mom. So anyway, they were, and I'm still mad about that. But they were talking about it in the podcast that I guess they did yesterday. It just came out, and
they love Rihanna.
they love them some Rihanna.
They do.
But I think it was Hannah said, like Rihanna doesn't care about this woman. That poor, like, what are they doing to this poor white woman? And I was like, oh, here we go.
Did
Like,
she actually? So I didn't listen to the podcast, but did she actually say the poor white woman or just the poor woman?
no, no, she said the poor white woman.
Hmm.
And I had to hit the rewind 15 seconds, please.
So would you have cared if it was a black woman, that if he was married to a black woman and she was doing the same thing to her?
It was more of a, oh my goodness, like for her to denote specifically a poor white woman, um, really made it just echoed strongly of this white woman fragility that is just, oh, the damsel, and her boo is not coming to get her, and oh, where is her white knight on a white horse, because Rihanna is wrecking shop and we know that she is like Caribbean crazy, right? So like
Why does she have to be Caribbean crazy? All right. Well,
so anyway, so anyway, but I mean, and I just kind of found myself going, oh boy, here we go. And a lot of the think pieces are about this rift between Black feminism and big F feminism, which typically excludes sisters and women of color, and so it just kind of brought all of that raging to the surface, and I had to kind of turn them off because it just really pissed me off.
well, let me tell you. Okay, so I found some think pieces on the subject. This is one of my favorite. Okay, this is from Black Girl Dangerous. So we already know. So this is what she says. Let me tell you what I see when I watch this video. I see a black woman putting her own well-being above the well-being of a white woman. Let's be clear. White women put their own needs and well-being above those of black women every day and call it feminism. What? Okay, so here Rihanna flips the script. If a white woman has to suffer some so that she, a black woman, can survive, so be it. After all, white women have been surviving on our suffering for hundreds of years. I said,
Mm.
"Welp,
All the whelps that whelped, right?
welp,
And so,
Welpington."
right. And so, I just think that it's interesting that this artistic piece, really about her, this artistic kind of wacky piece about the episode with her, inspired by the episode with her accountant, has turned into this huge, feminist discourse about the victim, who is
Mhm.
really the victim in this video,
Right,
right? And so, this is this the whole situation is predicated on this dude stealing her money.
right. Right. So I think one of the problems I have with some of the discussion is, well, why didn't she go after the dude? Well, there's plenty of movies where people will kidnap the wife or children to use as
Hmm.
leverage, in a situation like that. You need to get my money, so how can you
Right.
get it if you're with me?
Right.
So I need to give you something to think about. Um, so this is not abnormal that we've seen, right? Now,
Right.
what's different is that there is a woman perpetrating this, and that it's a black woman perpetrating this, right? So
Right.
now this is scary. I think what I feel like is there is a general fear of black rage, and black women rage is probably fiercer than you ever want to know. So if Rihanna is epitomizing what black rage would look like from a woman, then yes, you should be fearful. So I can see.
So dare we call her an angry black woman?
Yeah, she was angry.
Well, she was kind of angry.
She was angry, and but see, so what? She is not an angry black woman in the sense of the stereotypical. I'm just all the time angry. I'm situational angry, purposefully, because I have a reason to be angry, not in the sense of angry
I'm just walking
because,
around angry.
yeah, I'm just mad and I have an attitude all the time. Yeah, I have a reason to be angry, and this
Yeah.
is what I've done to get my money back. So if I have to do that to get my money back, then so be it.
Yeah.
It's not my
So,
fault your husband didn't care.
not my
Mm.
fault.
And
There
maybe
was a
that's
song
another
about that too.
maybe that's another piece of it too. Maybe that's another
Oh,
piece
it's not my
because
fault, and I don't care.
yeah, not but there's another piece of it too because the 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 piece of it is very aspirational, right? They live in a penthouse. They
Hmm.
have very nice things. Everything is very clean. They're rich. She has nice bags and all that. She has a little puppy that she's
Right.
walking around with. So it's aspirational. So you can have all of those accomplishments and still have a husband who just don't give a daggone about you. So,
There you go. So, Jimmy crack corn. So,
but
uh,
anyway, I talked a lot. What about you? What's your other thoughts on this?
it's classic Rihanna. I like her. I like it. Um, I don't truly know that it was that deep. Although I do think that Rihanna doesn't do anything by mistake. So, she knew that she was going, get a lot of mileage off of this video. So maybe it was deeper than I give her credit for. Um, I think that people are addicted to think pieces.
Oh,
And why
yes.
can't it just be a video
Because
about
it's propaganda.
Hotep? Hotep, no tep. So yeah, yeah. I mean, I liked it. It was really funny. I'm glad she's got some new stuff out, and go Riri because she really doesn't give. She has no more D's or F's to give. So
But I mean, there's a what about the woman that chose to play the part? She said she was all into it. What about her? Nobody's talking about her and her thoughts about feminism and the fact that she chose to, because it's not like she's a black actress that doesn't have like a lot of roles to choose from.
right.
Anyway,
It's not like she was one of the big girls behind Miley Cyrus with the latex suit
exactly.
on, right? And so, but the cosmic who makes propaganda, have already ascribed to her the role of the poor white woman.
Hmm.
Woe is her, being subjected to this hateful behavior, and she is not deserving.
Not only that, she's not. It's the
And
hateful.
she's
Hateful behavior of the. I don't know if people talked about this. What about her husband? He just
right,
does not care. What about you
right.
know?
That she is innocent and blameless.
And she
And
probably was counting that money right with her
well,
husband.
she clearly was spending it. So,
Yes,
so
right.
but she is spotless and clean, blameless and innocent. And so anyway, I think that it's interesting to kind of watched the think pieces float by and thought that it was, something that we could chit chat about.
Yeah,
So,
I thought it
all
was
right.
interesting. So many little pieces that you can snag onto,
Yeah,
but you can do that about just about anything, which
just
is the
about
whole
anything.
point of a think piece, right?
Yeah, right.
So,
Think on. So, let us draw this evening to a close. Any recommendations?
um, no, I didn't even think about a recommendation for today.
Oh, sorry. All right. Well, I have one. Hope and I dined at La Wendy's today. That would be Wendy's.
Okay, I'm like, well,
La
what
Wendy's.
restaurant is this?
And the I have a little cup here, and it has a share your heart for adoption. Of course, Wendy's. This is was founded by Dave Thomas and the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption, and they have a wonderful little doodah on the side of the cup. So, put your hands in a heart here like this, take a picture, tweet it out with the hashtag share for the number 4 adoption, and challenge friends and followers to retweet and do their own challenge of doing the heart hands. And every time that hashtag goes around, Wendy's, I mean, the foundation will. Wendy's will donate $5 to the Dave Thomas Foundation, which for me has a really special place in our heart because Hope had a Dave Thomas Foundation recruiter. And so, and yes, recruiters are awesome because they pick up in some places where social workers, they can kind of fill in some of those gaps,
Right.
where social workers don't necessarily have time to kind of recruit those families to potentially match with kids. This foundation provides recruiters all over the country to kind of help fill that gap. So tweet on.
Ooh, how much money do you think we can raise? We can get our people to raise. Shall
I
we
don't
try a
know.
goal?
I think that we
Mm.
should have a goal.
What do you think would be? So it's $5.
$5.
You think we can get 100 people to do it? That
Let's
seems
see.
all right. Let's try.
Let's
So
try.
we
So,
are going to try to raise $500 for Wendy's Kids.
yes.
Dave Thomas Foundation.
Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption, share for adoption, do the little heart, and tweet.
All right.
So, good deal. So, where can they find you in the East Streets, Mimi?
You can find me on Twitter at Mimi Complex. You can find me at the blog Complicated Melody. That's Melody with an I. And you can email me at complicatedmelody@gmail.com. And yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
All right, you can find me on the blog, of course, at Adoptive Black Mom, Twitter, Facebook, all same name, and Adoptive Black Mom at gmail.com. So,
But you can also tweet
oh,
us and
yes.
follow us. So we have a new Twitter handle. So we want you to follow us at AWAS Pod. So that's Add Water and Stir Pod. So it's AWAS Pod. So no more hashtag Add Water because it was kind of pornographic. So we had to let it go. So you can follow us AWAS Pod.
We didn't know. We
Oh,
just
and
didn't.
we have a new page for our podcast. It's called
Oh, yes.
www.addwaterandstirpodcast.com. So,
Ooh, ooh.
we are upgrading.
We are upgrading.
Hmm.
Let us upgrade you. All right. So I guess we will see you in about 2 weeks.
All right.
Thanks for joining
Bye.
us.